No, well,
If he comes in, we'll just, we'll just know when he signs in, what time he was in the minute.
Okay.
Yep.
So calling to order the Town of Willington Inland Wetland and Watercourse Commission today, December 16th, 2024. The time is now 7:35. Commissioners in attendance are myself, Patrick Lord, Mr. Mark Drobny, and Mr. David Jordan. There are no seating of alternates at the moment. And the next item on the agenda is applications to be received. We have one inland wetlands application that is IW 24-19, application to conduct pond dredging at 88 Moose Meadow Road, map block lot 26-009-0A, owner applicant M. Brindier.
nice job.
Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So,
So this one, yeah, just for receipt determination, if you think you needed a public hearing, I don't see anything in it that I believe would warrant it. The only other thing that we just want to make sure we're on the same page with is when it would come back before you. So we're having this meeting in the middle of the month as a special, so based upon date of receipt and the ability to take action, I don't think you could, with per statute, actually do this at your December regular meeting if you wanted to, because you're required to wait.
okay.
But that would be the only other thing to confirm.
The only thing I didn't see, did they send out a butter notification, or are they required to do that?
They're not required to do that for just a regular inland wetland application.
Okay.
Forestry. Right.
So I guess the one, so we would have to act on this by what, the regular January meeting?
Yeah, I think it would have to go to your January. You would have to go to your January meeting because it would be received at this meeting. You can't take any action within 15 days of the date of receipt, and I think your next meeting is within 15 days. That's great. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, the 23rd. I was thinking 2 weeks. Yeah. Are you here for this application or the? Okay. So I think at this point, it would just be to consider it at your regular January meeting.
Okay.
Which would be, unless you don't vote to adopt what's proposed, would be January 27th. Which is your regular day and time.
Is it appropriate to ask any questions at this point?
If you have questions, you can state them. They'll be in the minutes and then we can convey them to the applicant.
Okay, my question would have to do with the amount of silt that's going to be pulled out and how it's mounted. Which is looks like it's downhill from the pond. That's all, just 13,000 cubic feet, I guess it is. Cubic yards, not sure. So.
Yeah, that was my general question is
That's
what will happen? What will happen to that material once it's removed from the?
It's going to drain. If there it is going to drain, and then all this it'll be a pile.
So they have 10,000 square feet of wetland disturbance and 3,000 of upland disturbance, which gets you to the 13,000 total disturbance. And I think they're getting that based upon the portion of the pond that they're planning to. So pond is only 1/2 acre in size. So I don't think they're actually planning to do additional disturbance beyond the water body. I think that's the water body where it's going to be stored, but we'll ask them to we'll make sure they have a copy of these things so that they know what to be prepared for at the meeting.
And my only other question is there like an inlet and an outlet to that pond, or is it just kind of like a groundwater fed?
Okay. Got it. That one I can't turn on.
I thought they
I
said
don't
that it
believe I-
needed to have a diversion for the water. Yeah, it's checked off that they divert the water.
To run off something.
So it seems like it's got it in.
I can move them closer.
Okay, we'll see. There we go. Get a little closer.
Oh, that's better. I'm out of the frame.
Thank you.
He's muffled.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion for any of this, Mike, or just
Motion to receive and,
here at the next meeting?
correct.
Okay. Motion to receive application IW 2419 to act upon that at the next meeting in January.
Next ballot meeting. I assume, are we meeting in December?
No,
No, my intent was that this would serve the purpose of that, so we would cancel one next week.
Okay, that would be fine, yeah.
Okay. Next time on the agenda is approval of minutes. Did we have I didn't see anything.
So I don't have minutes aren't on the agenda in the packet, so you'll have to table those.
Motion to table the approval of minutes until the January meeting.
Did we act on the motion to receive?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Yep.
I guess we'll need a second.
Yep.
Mr. Jordan seconds. All in favor?
I,
All right. So the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. There's no minutes for us to review and approve right now. So we'll table that to the next meeting. There's no public hearing. We move on to new business. Timber harvest application TH24-7. Selective timber harvest at 22 Marsh Road, map block lot 112400. Owner M Block, applicant E Johnson.
it's me. Excellent.
Are you guys hearing me okay and everything? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
I can move the camera. The applicant's in the room with us.
Okay.
With us.
that's
I don't
better.
know if, can you hear?
I can hear. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
There we go, first one.
Floor is yours, Mr. Johnson, if you'd like to walk us through your project.
Can you explain your project? to us, please?
It's a timber stand improvement and wildlife habitat operation. It's removing about 9,000 board feet and 65 boards of firewood. No wetland crossings. There is work, with right up to the wetland edge, but I marked it a little thinner, left a little more along the wetland edges. The whole cut itself is pretty light, 'cause it's 21 acres, so
What were you taking out?
only it's 300 board feet to the acre, and it's a couple saw timber trees to the acre, and 3 boards of poles to the acre. It's a 2H class stand currently, and that the idea is to keep it as an uneven H stand. We're gonna encourage a third H class. And there's the 2 openings are where there's quaking aspen in the upland, and we're gonna clear the aspen. And it's about an acre in 2 different places though, so it's half an acre and half an acre.
This land abuts town property.
Yes, it does. Yep.
And the Nipmuc Trail comes right up almost adjacent to the property, if I remember correctly.
Yep, it does.
So what would the result be in terms of the changing nature of the road within this property and the adjacent area?
I don't believe it's gonna have any effect on it at all. Affecting the timber on the adjacent town property, probably no effect. It's probably gonna have an effect on wildlife.
Positive, per se.
Yeah, that's the intention. Yep.
Let's see. Okay, I see you're gonna adhere to the Connecticut Deep BMP manual. And there's no wetland or stream crossings on this property?
There is not. It's also gonna be overseen by the NRCS foresters from the federal government. It's a sponsored job.
That's pretty cool. I'm all set with this. If anyone else has any other questions or needs some more time.
Now, I guess the only one I have, I noticed you don't have a pin on the far right corner. So I'm assuming you have a A2 survey or something like that.
I do. I
Okay.
couldn't find that pin though.
Right. But I see there is a wall that headed in that direction. Oh,
Fence, there should be a fence there.
I see. Stone wall is at this end. I assume that continues in some way or other.
It does. So I did this distance and I did this bearing and distance and I came up with a spot without a pin. It might be there somewhere, but. There was, along the town property, there was a boundary issues in the past. Okay. Well,
That was resolved.
I found all that.
Good.
Yep.
Are there any further questions from the commission to the applicant? And has everyone had enough time to review the application?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Make a motion, I'll second it.
Okay, I didn't know if you were gonna. Motion to approve timber harvest application TH 24-7, selective timber harvest at 22 Marsh Road, map block lot 11 -24-00, owner M Block, applicant E Johnson.
And second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item there is inland wetlands application IW 24-16, request for jurisdictional ruling.
I have a question. It's been a long time since I cut timber in this town. Last time I did was like 15 years ago, and there was a regulation on hours that I could work. Is that still in place?
We
8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
So the regulations were revised comprehensively in 2020. So if it's after that, the hours of operation may be during 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And 5 days a week.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah, I don't think there was limitations.
We didn't put in
No.
weekday versus weekend, 7 to 7.
That's helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next item is inland wetlands application IW 24-16, request for jurisdictional ruling associated with the selective timber harvest at 22 Marsh Road, map block lot 11-024-00, owner M Block, applicant E Johnson. Make a motion to approve IW 24-16 as an as of right activity.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application is timber harvest, application TH 24-8, selective timber harvest at 57 Losi Road, map block lot 46-001-16, owner DW Fish Home Builders, applicant A Harmon. So Austin's back. You want to present your application, Austin, for this one?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Hello, folks. Good evening. Austin Harmon with Hull Forest Products. As you may notice, I have two applications on deck today. We're starting with the Lose Road application for DW Fish Home Builders. This is two separate properties abutting one another. We're currently working on the project behind it, which you may recall, property of SPAC Road LLC and Donald Vaccaro, which was approved, I don't know, few meetings ago. We're currently working on that property. We're hoping to add this one in conjunction with a separate landing area. As you can see from the timber harvest map, there's one landing that would require a temporary crossing, temporary stream crossing with timber bridge mats going from Lose Road over the stream to the landing area. And then right behind the landing area, we would have a minor temporary wetland crossing. Which would be used with temporary timber bridge mats and or corduroy. It's important to note that this stream is an intermittent stream. When I was working the property, it was bone dry. I'm sure right about now it probably has some water in it, as you can imagine, after all this precipitation the last week or so. I believe we're cutting about 20,000 board feet of timber and some odd cords, if I recall off the top of my head. I forget the exact details. Boundaries have all been marked in pink flagging. All trees to remove have been marked with blue paint. I think that's just about it. It should take that project itself less than a month of good working weather. in conjunction with the SPAC Road LLC harvest. We may use it for access back and forth of the properties a little further, but the majority of the activity in harvesting should not take too long.
It looks like a fairly small parcel.
Yes, it is. It is.
And the objective of the timber harvest?
Income generation for the landowner, but also long-term forest management. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Okay. Yeah, because you stated there were some unhealthy, poorly formed and diseased trees there that you're going to be removing. So
Precisely. Precisely. We're taking some of the larger, over mature trees as well for income generation, but removing the unhealthy, diseased, and poorly formed individuals where applicable while we're there as well, and the few ash that are present.
how wide is that wetland crossing?
The wetland crossing, I'd say about 15 feet. There is a survey of the property, which also notes it as a very minor wetland, the crossing area itself. I'd say it's about 15 feet. The stream, maybe 10. I think it's a
Okay.
little less at the point of our crossing. So we should be able to span the stream with one set of timber bridge mats from bank to bank. And then I imagine either row of corduroy or two sets of bridge mats to go over the wetland area.
Okay. I personally prefer the timber mats, but it's all part of the BMP plan. So, and will the corduroy remain in the wetland? Or are you going to remove that?
I as well, prefer the bridge mats. It's simpler to put a material in and be able to grab it out in one piece as well. The corduroy, if we did implement it, would mostly be on the approaches of the wetland, not the interior itself. But there's a chance that some of it might go, a few feet into the edge, right? Because I didn't exactly flag off the edge of the wetland or paint the edge of it for the
Sure.
subcontractor to tell that difference.
And following removal of like the bridges or corduroy, you got any stabilization plans for that afterwards?
Yes, seed hay and or water bars would be implemented as necessary post-harvest. It really depends on the condition that the property or that trail and area is left in. My initial thought would be to set up some hay bales as a natural um, decaying water bar over time between the landing area and the stream itself. And then most likely one water bar just to the, I believe it's the west of the wetland crossing, if my internal compass is right. There's a small slope that goes up the hill to the west from the wetland crossing, so we'd most likely put in a water bar there and then cedar hay throughout as needed.
I'd be interested in knowing how all of the harvesting that's going on in that area relates one to the other. In the sense that, there's harvest on Spock, this is on Loshi. Near that one, we're taking stuff out of Pushco Road, which is just down the road. And Angela Lane, which is off of Spock, if I remember correctly. So it's a large plot of land in there, and how does it all relate one to the other?
That's a great question. I'd first like to point out that I actually was able to get in touch with DW Fish Home Builders and Cuzco Road from the abutter notifications regarding the SPAC Road LLC harvest. So I'd like to thank you, the town and their regulations, for sending those out, as it worked well in our favor, getting some projects. The SPAC Road LLC harvest is heavier harvest in certain areas. It has a lot of oak, but not a lot of oak regeneration. It was mostly oak saw timber sized trees with a few oak pole timber. And then it was very heavy to birch and maple pole timber throughout that. So our goal was to leave a lot of the big healthy oak, reduce about 50% of the total tree volume present, but trying to create the gaps around those oak trees. The objective for the DW Fish Home Builders sites is going to be similar to that, a bit different. Rather than trying to create a lot of those gaps, we're solely trying to focus on some of the larger trees for income generation to the landowner, as well as the unhealthy, poorly formed, and diseased trees. And then the project off of Cuzco Road, that property has very, very prominent advanced regeneration from a last harvest. My guess is about 15 years ago for the majority of the property, a lot of that being hardwoods, especially white oak in areas. So that property in areas I hit heavier, trying to um, sorry, accurately release that white oak regeneration, especially besides those areas where I hit harder with the paint to release the sunlight into the forest floor. I tried to pick out only the unhealthy and diseased trees moving through. So it was a lighter harvest overall.
And somewhere in there, there's a Christmas tree farm, if I remember correctly. And but probably not owned by the fish people.
I believe there is a Christmas tree farm. I'm trying to recall. I know there's one just north of the Spac Road and Lose Road intersection. There's an old overgrown one there. And then between the Cuzco Road and Spac Road intersection on Lose, kind of at that bend just uphill, there's another overgrown Christmas tree farm owned by some other folks. I haven't come across any out there, but I have seen them around.
Okay. Thank you for the overview.
No problem at all.
Now, are these established skid trails?
For the for the DW Fish Lose Road harvest, correct?
Yes.
No, they are not established skid trails at the moment.
Are there any steep slopes in your path? I'm not
There,
sure of topography.
there is a minor slope heading from the wetland crossing up the hill to the west, and then the skid trail goes with the topography and gets on top of the hill, that minor slope, and then there is a minor elevation change between Lose Road and just to the west of the stream that's running with Lose Road. And as you can see, there's a bit of a buffer area there as well. We didn't want to chase too far down that hillside. I wanted to kind of stay near the top of it and leave a bit of a buffer just for the stream's sake, as well as machinery um, co compatibility on our end.
Is there any further discussion or questions of the applicant from the commission? I'd like to make a motion to approve timber harvest application TH 24-8, selective timber harvest at 57 Lucy Road, Losey Road, map block lot 46-001-16, owner DW Fish Home Builders, applicant A. Harmon.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That brings us to inland wetlands application IW 24-17, request for jurisdictional ruling associated with selective timber harvest at 57 Losi Road, map block lot 46-001-16. Owner DW Fish Home Builders, applicant A Harmon. I'd like to make a motion to approve inland wetlands application IW 24-17 as an as of right activity.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, so moving on to timber harvest application TH 24-9, selective timber harvest at 0 Kuko Road, map block lot 42-005-00, owner E and A Kuko, applicant A Harmon. Austin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Patrick. First, I'd like to just point out that Emil, the E in the E and A Kuko, is actually deceased, I believe, as of last year. So it's actually just Alice Kuko. That has been all settled with the town in terms of property ownership and such. I just wanted to let you folks know. This project, as stated, is going to be it's going to be a selective timber harvest in areas, and then there's going to be some areas where the prescription's a bit different due to very prominent advanced regeneration, specifically white oak in some spots. There's some areas with a lot of white oak, especially following north from the Village Hill and Kuko Road intersection. As you go that direction, there's a lot of white oak in there with a lot of very promising regeneration. So the goal is to release a lot of that in areas where we are cutting heavier, and then a lighter prescription as you move further east through the property from Village Hill Road, as the regeneration kind of settles off and there's not as much present. We're targeting poorly formed, diseased, over mature, and risk-prone individuals, trying to promote the biggest and the best for the future, while also taking some of the bigger trees as needed here and there. The pole timber being cut is being limited to solely trees needed to be removed for the sake of the harvest and logger safety, as well as the diseased and suppressed individuals. There is one stream crossing over Keene Brook associated with this. There are present skid trails, but there was no the present stream crossing available was not the best spot for a machinery crossing. It's an existing, I believe they put down wooden planks at some point to cross over the brook, but it's not a good spot for machinery crossing. So I moved the proposed crossing upstream to a bit of a more bottlenecked area with higher stream banks so we could span easier with any sort of less damage and risk to the stream or stream bed itself. So it's about 8 to 10 feet wide again for the stream crossing. We should be able to span it just with 2 sets timber bridge mats, and then we would corduroy the approaches as needed as well. Seed hay and or water bars would be implemented as necessary post-harvest on the skid trails and especially the stream crossing area. Elevation and topography is fairly consistent. There's a slight hill going down to Keene Brook on the west side of the brook, and then it levels off on the east side of the brook and then goes up the hill again. So it is fairly level and fairly consistent. I believe we're removing about 130,000 board feet of saw timber. I don't remember the cordage number for firewood off the top of my head, but it should be in the paperwork or on the online application somewhere.
Okay.
So your loading area is gonna be near the land, and to be the landing off of Kuchko, and that's where the trucks would be coming in and going out?
Yes, that is correct. There's an old field area there, an old hayfield area that we're going to reclaim part of. And just, I think there's an existing wire fencing. We're just gonna have to clip some of that old wire, and that we should have fine truck access right from there. I'm hoping they can either take Cuzco over to 84 that way, or Village Hill South to 84. One or other should work just fine.
And the one next to Village Hill, that's just a temporary landing? You don't plan
Say
on
it
loading
again,
out?
sorry.
The landing at Village Hill Road, that's just like a temporary landing, or do you plan on loading out there as well?
That is going to be another area to load out. So, the pine being removed on this project, we're hoping to load tractor trailers that would bring the product north and further elsewhere, not just the triaxle log trucks we normally would. So the pine I'm hoping to bring to the Kuko Road intersection, as that's a better staging area there. It won't need as much space. The Village Hill Road landing, we would try to target mostly just the saw timber and firewood that we would load on the triaxle. Therefore, minimal disturbance, not as big of an area we need to space out.
Okay, is Keenbrook flowing into Halchuck Pond?
In this case, Keenbrook is flowing out of Halchuck Pond. There's actually quite a bit of rubbish and debris that's flown out of that property to the north onto their property.
I didn't know if that was still a viable commercial operation. Because it's the campground is in there, if it's that pond.
Yes, that's correct. That is the Wilderness Lake, I believe it is.
Okay, so you're getting their stuff rather than them getting your stuff.
Oh, that's correct. Yes. And the landowner is aware of that as well. They noticed that. I'm not sure what they will or won't do with that information's up to them.
I guess my only question is for the folks on Village Hill Road there. How close from that property boundary is that Village Hill that abuts that western property boundary?
Yes, that is Village Hill Road, right on along the entire western boundary, and Cusco Road on the entire southerly boundary. The campground on the entire northerly boundary, and then I believe a few other neighbors and one of their relatives for majority of the eastern boundary.
Did you have a proposed like buffer between the property boundary and your harvest area along Village Hill Road?
I didn't have a proposed harvest boundary. Nature kind of takes care of that on its own in some instances. The fact that the road's been there so long, most of the trees in that area want to grow towards the sunlight, up towards the road, making them inoperable for us. So there is a
Mhm.
bit of a natural buffer due to trees that we simply cannot harvest. But besides that, we weren't planning to leave any sort of visual buffer off the road itself.
Did we have anything in our regulations pertaining to that? Do you guys remember?
Pertaining to what?
Um, buffers from property boundaries? Was there a certain, I gotta look them up real quick.
We have buffers from the right of way of 10 feet.
So there's a 10 foot from the property boundary that there's a no touch kind of.
10 feet in width from the edge of an existing right of way. And then I think we require, I'm trying to find it. We don't allow slash to be placed within 10 feet of a boundary. And then we require that all trees within 15 feet of a property line be marked.
Okay. Are you familiar with all that, Austin, in our regulations?
I was not familiar with the 10 feet from a right of way, but now I am.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because there's certain buffers that we have in there. So just, you might want to go back and familiarize yourself with those before the operation commences.
Okay, thank you. And just so I can get it cleared up, what would your definition be a right of way in that case? I'm assuming that would just be mostly public roadways. I just want to get that fully clear.
It's,
yeah,
Clarify that it's a public right of way.
A public right of way. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So when you were talking about from the previous harvest on this property, that you saw a good response from the forest in regeneration and from like the parent trees and seedlings and stuff.
Yes, that's correct. I'm unsure who conducted the last harvest, but whoever did an exceptional job. They left a lot of great seed trees and other standing timber left, which did its work and regenerated very effectively. So our goal in areas is to really open up the forest canopy to release that natural generation, where a lot of it of desirable species such as that white oak is present. In other areas where there's a lot of white pine or red maple, which is not as desirable, I decided to not mark it as heavy. I still wanted to give it some sunlight and let it grow a little further, improve the growth rates, but I didn't want to give it as much sunlight as it doesn't need as much due to its shade tolerance.
Well, that's good to hear. Is there any other, has the commission had enough time to review? Is there any further question of the applicant regarding the application?
You do a good job making motions, Patrick.
Okay. Make a motion to approve timber harvest application TH 24-9, selective timber harvest at 0 Kuchko Road, map block lot 42-005-00, owner E&A Kuchko, applicant A Harmon.
I'll be happy to second that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor? Accompanying that is inland wetland application IW 24-18, request for jurisdictional ruling associated with selective timber harvest at 0 Kuchko Road, map block lot 42-005-00, owner E&A Kuchko, applicant A Harmon. I make a motion to approve inland wetlands application IW 24-18 as an as of right activity.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, don't go anywhere, Austin. We got timber harvest application TH 24-12, selective timber harvest at 9 Angela Lane, map block lot 46-001-10, owner DW Fish Home Builders LLC, applicant A Harmon. Okay, DW Fish.
All right, folks, I saved the best for last on this one. Another DW Fish Home Builders property. This one is to the north of the SPAC Road LLC timber harvest, to the very southeast of this timber harvest map. You might actually see the corner of the Lose Road parcels we just spoke of before. So they're not quite kitty cornered, but they're very close to each other. They're just separated. So this property has an existing access road that you can see coming in off of Angela Lane, all the way into the landing areas, and then another landing area right against the edge of Angela Lane. I don't suspect we will use both of these. I just wanted to give the option to our subcontractor in case he had one preferred over the other. But I would assume he'd want to use the existing long access road in. There is a conservation easement on this property held by the town of Willington. I've already spoke with Kathy Demers about this, and since we will not be harvesting any trees or conducting any part of the operation in the conservation easement area, which I have flagged off with yellow flagging per their signage present on the site, Since we're not doing any operation within there, we do not need their approval of any sorts. Just the fact that we're not trespassing or using the property at all is enough. With that being said, there are no wetland or stream crossings for this operation, but there will be the access of the existing road within part of the upland review area, as well as the harvesting of timber within the upland review area. This is again going to be a selective timber harvest, taking some of the financially mature trees, but also removing the unhealthy, poorly formed, and diseased individuals while we are there. Trying to promote a multi-age forest, trying to retain that oak component, but also leave some of the other trees for wildlife habitat, but also fall foliage color being in that nice neighborhood with a lot of folks around to take a look. Seed hay and or water bars will be implemented as necessary post-harvest. Most likely that road will be the main area. It's a dirt gravel road, so I'm not concerned with any sort of erosion or sedimentation factors, as long as we put it to bed well once the project is done. There's an existing anti-tracking pad at the entrance of that long access road off at Angela Lane. We may need to add some stone to that. Which that would be, I think, technically in the upland review area. If you did the calculations out, we would most likely get stone tailings just delivered and implemented only on the road area itself, so they wouldn't be trespassed or moved to any other area, just the road area. I think that's just about it. This project will also be done in conjunction with the Lose Road and SPAC Road LLC harvests. Then it will also provide another access way for those harvests as well.
I was looking at the property, as compared to what Mike just put up on the screen. And there's a chunk off to the left-hand side that, brings it right up close to the Angela Lane, turnaround circle at the end of the development.
I'm gonna share it so you can see.
We noticed that, what you're seeing there is to the left of the yellow line. Is included in this diagram right there. And also there's a skid thing, so there must be, that's where, right, that.
Lot
that
21. You see that, Austin?
Yes, lot 21 is included with the with this harvest. Lots 9 and 21.
And that's part of the original subdivision?
Yes. Yeah, this is the original subdivision,
Right.
or
Okay.
subdivision configuration, yep.
Okay.
So when I flipped this on before, you can see the original wetland sort of limits. It's gonna take a minute because we're running on Wi-Fi. And there. And so you'll see the limitations of the conservation easement,
Yep,
which is what
I
are
see that.
shown in with the coloring there.
Okay, and the, where is the landing site gonna be? Is it gonna be off of Spock?
No, there's going to be 2 landing sites. One's going to be off of the end of Angela Lane at the turnaround in lot 21. And then the other will be off of the existing access road for lot 9 of Angela Lane coming in further to the
Yellow line
property.
down through that line.
That wetland layer that Mike just turned on, I should also state, is inaccurate. According to the surveys done for the lot 9, the wetlands are not nearly that large. So they are in better described on that survey done by, I think it was Gardner and Peterson Associates. The town I know has that on file with at least the Conservation Commission or part of it. But I just wanted to note that the wetland does not cover the entire entrance of lot 9.
Yeah, so the blue line that you see here is the delineated wetland. The
Okay.
black dash is the conservation easement. So this green is what DEP said existed on the site before the subdivision was done. So this is the actual wetland. And if you look at the yellow his proposed access. It's basically mirroring the approved driveway location from the subdivision on his map. So when that was approved, the driveway came in and it kind of did that to match topo and everything else, right? So they're cutting in the driveway in the same location. Their access way is the same as the approved driveway location. If that lot were to ultimately be developed.
It's a huge rear lot kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a rear lot because it has the frontage, but it was sort of the balance of everything that was left and it needed to be large because there were wetlands on site. So when you take away the wetlands and everything else, the buildable area is pretty much the same as the others.
Okay. Interesting. And that access road has not been improved, I assume that's very.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's how much of it is there, but that was where the driveway was shown when it went through the Wetlands Commission because it, you know, there's one little point there where it gets close, but they ran it down the side, so it was as far away from the wetlands as they,
Okay.
so they're kind of mirroring that.
That access road goes all the way from the entrance of lot 9, essentially all the way in past a bend you may see on your map. The entirety access road I put on the map is an established access road. I was able to drive down it with my pickup truck. The only difference is that there is a lot of brush on the edge, so I wouldn't advise driving down it. But it's doable at this point in time, at least.
Okay.
I guess it's just a general question. How come those lots were never developed?
That's a
And
great
do they-
question. I'm honestly
Yeah, and
not
as
sure.
and as a home builder, as the owner, do they plan on developing in the future? It's not, you know, it's not part of the application, just a general question, I guess.
It's very possible, honestly. I'm not sure, Patrick.
I mean, they've been building up there since I started here, sort of slowly but surely. There's some restrictions. I think it's on that subdivision. A couple of the more recent subdivisions have deed restrictions for minimum house size. So they got to build a bigger house. So they've been going little by little. So I think these are just the last of what they've been doing.
Okay.
That probably 50% or more of the lots in that subdivision have been completed in the last 4 years.
Okay.
All of the new owners on Angela Lane have been notified. The ones that they bought anyway. Because I was wondering, the logical thing to think about is any kind of noise restriction or something like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, Austin can confirm, but we talked about that, those notifications. They're required to go out within, I think we said it was within 7 days of submission of the application. So that was one of the things we changed in the regulations is rather than say, hey, this application is going before the commission and them showing up here and having no ability to speak. They now notify the application's been submitted and give them information on who to contact and the approximate schedule. So those, if they haven't gone out already, will be.
if I were living there, I'd be a little concerned about all the trucks running up and down the center of the subdivision, but.
Yes, I can reassure as well that I actually just put the letters for the abutters out in the mail today.
A lot of work up there.
Yeah, feels like I've been in Willington for quite a while. I haven't done much work in Willington before this, but it's just a delayed thing, I guess. Now that I'm here, you can't seem to get rid of me yet.
Well, there's a lot of forest to be managed.
That is true, and thankfully so. I've actually been speaking with some of the conservation commission folks, Jackie Coolig and Kathy Demers, about a potential timber harvest on the Fenton Ruby Park area. They're currently in discussion of that and supposed to be bringing it up at one of their meetings coming up shortly, if not already. So there may be wetlands. There may be a wetlands commission agenda item for town property at some point.
Wednesday.
Can I make a motion to approve timber harvest application TH24-12? Selective timber harvest at 9 Angela Lane, map block. Yeah, so it's gonna be 9 and 20, but this is all lumped together, Mike?
It's submitted under 9. You can include both addresses in your motion.
So, motion to approve timber harvest 24-12, selective timber harvest at 9 and, what was it, 20?
21.
21 Angela Lane, map block lot 46-001-10, owner DW Fish Home Builders LLC, applicant A. Harmon.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, accompanying that is inland wetlands application 24-22, request for jurisdictional ruling associated with selective timber harvest at 9 and 21 Angela Lane, map block lot 46-001-10, owner DW Fish Home Builders LLC, applicant A. Harmon. I make a motion to approve this as an as of right activity.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you so much for being here, Austin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, folks. Have a good rest of your evening and happy holidays.
Yep. Merry Christmas. Next on the agenda is old business. I don't see anything listed there. Brings us to correspondence. And I see nothing there. So we have staff report and discussion. So we're looking at the approval of the 2025 meeting dates.
No changes. 4th Monday, 7:30 p.m.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
May.
There's no holidays or anything associated in those, or we could probably work around them with a special meeting.
Yeah, so just moving up the May meeting. When you get to the end of the year, you get close to a couple of them, but yeah, we can adjust stuff comes in.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is the Monday of Thanksgiving, I assume, week, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Does that work for the commission as of now?
Rose,
Yes.
I will move the approval of the meeting dates distributed to the commissions.
I'll second
I
that.
could. All right, Mark, second. All in favor?
Sorry, Patrick.
No. There's enough thunder to go around, Mark. All right, so we have a review of regulation comments from general code. Tell us a little bit about this, Mike.
So I just, I had put it on here when we were got the report back. I think we've talked about this. We've been going through codification, ordinances, subdivision regs, inland wetland regs, timber harvest, zoning. So, we got the report back, if you will, and, the comments back for the inland wetlands, are pretty underwhelming. There's really not anything, debatable. It's sort of just acknowledging, that this was changed, this term is now referred to as that. But we're not referencing, the current version of like best practices, guide, etc. So I have copies of their comments, which I can give to you. There are only 8 in total, but not knowing what the response was going to be, there may be some in here where we don't necessarily have an answer and we have to figure out what we need to do. Do we need to amend? Do we decide to revise? But we had like 160 comments from the planning and zoning side, so we've been chipping away at them, but there's really not much here for you guys. So I've got copies, I can leave them for you if you want to look at them. But nothing.
And this came from a regulatory body or just internal in the town?
So it's through general code. They are the agency that does, they're affiliated with ICC, that they develop all the code documents for the building code. So the National Fire Protection Code, Connecticut State Building Code, International Residential Code, all the codes that they're affiliated with them. And so they go through, when we went through this process, they went through all of our documents to determine, are we referencing statutes, acts, and laws that are no longer in place? Are we referencing terms or ordinances or other things that don't exist? So like, for example, the one that was the most sort of questionable was that we reference an ordinance that the town adopted in 1986, essentially establishing the commission. We were referencing a date that is not the date that the ordinance was adopted. So they're looking through and saying, okay, well, you guys say you exist because of this ordinance, which was adopted on this date. But when we go look at those ordinances, there is no ordinance adopted on this date.
Okay.
You know, we're just clarifying, yeah, please fix the date.
So it's an alignment and semantics. And stuff
Yes.
like that.
Like, for example, in the zoning regs, we reference a driveway ordinance. We don't have a driveway ordinance in town. We don't have anything that says when you can cut the curb, how wide curb cut can be, who you have to ask permission for, we reference it. So they're making sure that all of those regulatory codes are in alignment. So the good news is we didn't have really anything fixed.
That's good.
Your intent then is to come to the commission for us to approve it, edit any edits that are necessary.
So once we go back through this and say, yeah, this is what, here's all, yeah, you found all these errors, here's how they need to be reflected, they're gonna provide basically like almost like a motion to sort of incorporate all of the little tweaks and Scrivener errors and whatever else for each commission. We'll adopt the codified version of these regs with all the sort of clarifications, which will become the final body of code. Each commission will have to do them.
Okay, and the final approval of those changes, is that within the commission or does it go to the town?
So on our side, it'll all be within the commission. They're gonna have to do that for the ordinances at the town. Unless they're minor. If it's like, oh, you are referencing the wrong statute, we don't need to go to town meeting for that. But if there are actual amendments and changes, then yeah, they're gonna have to go to a town meeting for all of those. And then just going to number 3, the last thing is, you know, every other year, the Connecticut Bar Land Use Section hosts that all-day training that covers soup to nuts, bias, predisposition, planning, zoning, wetlands, ZBA. They sort of do it, it's on a Saturday. It used to be at Wesleyan a bunch of years ago, and now it's online because they have like 800 people that attended and they don't have a spot big enough. So that's going to be happening in March of 25. So if you want to attend, let us know, we'll get you registered. It's all encompassing, so it's not just wetlands, but they have a section that usually Mike Ziska teaches on wetlands, or sometimes Janet Brooks, sort of the 2 foremost wetland attorneys in Connecticut. So if you're interested in that, we'll get you signed up. We've got a little bit of time, but I think it's the 3rd or 4th Saturday in March, again, via Zoom only. Okay. That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? You got anyone in the room?
We do.
I'm Matt Clark, just going by. I want to thank you gentlemen for volunteering for the Wetlands Commission. Appreciate your time and effort, working on this, and I'd never been to a meeting, so I thought I'd stop by.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was. Yes. Thank you.
We do have seats available if you'd like.
My plate is full. Thank you. I appreciate that. Though.
Always looking for a few good citizens.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that, sir. Thank you for stopping by. And I think it's Mr. Drobny's favorite part of the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.